All right.
Okay, Hand of the King likes what you did with the new map design on the UD map. Was that Liquid Third that did that?
Yeah, Liquid drew it, and I wrote the shaders. So if it's graphical, I can't draw. So that would be him. But I did the shader part of it, which is like this part. Everything else was him. So
Oh,
uh,
sorry guys, I just needed glue.
He wants to know: do
he's,
you plan to make all maps, like a redesign for all maps like that? And I do know that Liquid Third did actually post a little teaser somewhere.
yes, he did. It looked a lot like the FW map, didn't it?
Did let me see if I can get that up. Actually,
For the record, he posted the least cool part of that map. It looks so awesome. We're planning on releasing that with not a patch, but an update. The note about those maps is they're actually using pixel shaders, which is something that we don't use a whole lot of in Pox. Pox was basically released before Shader Model 2 was common enough to use. It was actually Pops was actually released before video cards on people's computers on the web were common enough to use. But if you see like the lava has like a little flow to it, the lights and the cracks and stuff all move at their own way. The flow of the lava at the bottom has like a flow map on top of it. It does a lot of advanced stuff. Basically, I put that in there. I wrote those shaders to find out how people would receive it. We got 3 or 4 reports of people not being able to load the map up because basically it requires a computer past 2004 to use, right? There's some compatibility things. So we've addressed a few of them. There are still a few in there, but we're really using this time to debug. The first step was actually the old login screen, right? With that, like the stars or whatever in the background. That was done because I wanted to see people would crash out or not. When I up the tech a little bit. So now that the UD map is in there, there's still a few people having problems, but we're going to address those. Now when those are in there, I want to start doing more with the more maps. There's no reason we couldn't have cloud cover or any other dozen idea that Liquid's coming up with. So there will be more, not in a patch. It's going to be in a release. So that might be Steam, it might be expansion, but we want to start doing more with that. I think it's when you look at Pox on the UD map now, it looks on par with any other 2D game I can think of as far as being appealing or new. So the idea is kind of modernize things a little bit.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, I did actually have a preview of that up on the screen. That's what was posted by Liquid Third. A little teaser of the new FW map.
Dude, it looks so cool.
So
the water
wait
gonna
for
blow you guys.
we wait for
blow
more
it
news
away.
on that. Anyway, next question. That question was from Hand of the King, by the way. I forgot to mention.
Oh wow, yeah, that does look cool. Oh, it's on the stream now, yeah.
Yeah, I've just taken it off now, but yeah, it was.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Now we've got a player called Korag, and funnily enough, he wants to talk about Korag. He wants to know, why did Korag lose one of his unique abilities, Brain Eater, at the revamp? It gave him a unique feel, but now only the Soul Thirster has the ability and Korag doesn't, and he wants to know the reasoning.
Right, give me 1 second, and I'm going to load things up, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think there's been quite a few champs that lost their original abilities, and a few people have noticed.
Oh, yeah. All right.
You know what I mean?
The reason Korag lost Brain Eater, let me check one more thing before I answer.
He does have maximum abilities.
Well, that's not why. Brain Eater does still exist within the game.
Yeah.
It's on the Soul Thirster. But it was a major debate whether or not Soul Thirster was going to keep it or not. And I was kind of waiting for someone to start talking about Soul Thirster in any negative way so I can kill Brain Eater completely from the game. It is a terrible ability in terms of balance. So what happened was with the old upgrade system where you could pick 2 of 4 at level 3, there was no cost associated with them. So you'd have 1 Nora cost abilities next to 25 Nora cost abilities, and it was kind of all over the map. So things like Brain Eater can take a whole lot of stuff. Now we have upgrade trees where the trees themselves tend to have comparable costing abilities, so it's only plus or minus a little bit, but it gives us the ability to define a champion through the upgrades if we want to. Part of the problem with Brain Eater, as much fun as the concept is, it's very difficult to control.
Yeah.
So while it's possible to win a game with a guy with Brain Eater, it's very difficult to, before a game starts, say, oh, I'm going to win this game because I have Brain Eater. Because you don't know what's going to happen, and you have very little control over what it does. Even if you kill somebody with it, it only gives you one of the 2, and I believe it's random. I have to look up at the code real fast. Random stuff is fun, but not practical. Brain Eater was one of these deals that was fun. Yeah, it randomly picks one. Literally randomly picks one. It was fun, but not practical. And I just felt like it wasn't worth all of the headache, no pun intended, with doing it. That's the honest truth.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, Korag does still have at least one unique ability, double team. So.
Right. To me, that's what made Korag, not Brain Eater. I don't think you won a game because of Brain Eater, but I do think you won a game possibly because of double team, because you can counter it happening. So.
Okay. So from Lao Moon, can we get the option to make an unranked game where you can play an illegal BG, for example, Circus? I think that's what he's getting at. He misses the possibility to make fun decks and play them against people, and not just in single player.
The demand isn't high enough to do something like that, I don't think.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to be done in a queue, but I guess you could do it via a custom game.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants, the ability to play Circus.
That's what I mean, unranked, so it'd just literally be for fun, and who plays Pox for that, you know?
I think a lot of people would actually like to see Circus. It's something I have seen on the forums, it come up a lot in the previous Q&As, not always got around to asking it, but certainly a lot of people do like Circus. We're certainly not like ranked or anything, but just in a custom fun game mode, you know?
That doesn't seem irrational to want. There's always triage going on with Pox, right? I'm sure people would rather see runes updated than access to Circus decks in general, but it doesn't seem irrational to me. I don't see why we couldn't do it. As long as we made it, people knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps you could have like on the drop down, like a little drop down normal game or Circus game.
Right. The only thing that makes it funny is picking your avatar, but.
Yeah.
It's one of those things though, isn't it? Like there's so many other priorities at the minute, just getting the ranked ladder, how ranked works, for example.
Right.
That's much more, much higher priority, I'd say. I mean, I might be biased because
I think perhaps that's because you're more of a meta,
but
player.
Still.
Whereas some other people are more casual players that would like to just play a fun game, I guess.
Someone in Twitch said all spell BG do it. It was when we first released Pox, like when we first came up, all spell BGs were a real problem.
How?
They were poning things. It was terrible. Dark Rising, man. Dark Rising did a lot of damage. It's why they have Skirmisher and they die and blah blah. When the game first released, it was tough.
I do have some recollections of that actually. I just sort of seem to remember Tomb Lords and skeletons, and they have Surge, so they just loads of skeletons.
Well, there'd be the Dark Rising, Draconic Benediction, Quickening, wouldn't there? And kill the Shrine.
There's been some good Shrine Rush decks over the years, yeah.
Gedden's camera's frozen. I don't know if he's DC'd. You there, Gedden?
I'm here.
Alright, I think your camera's just froze, that's all.
No, I'm just being very still.
Demonicus wants to know how much time do you spend playing the game, and at what level do you play it? For example, do you play against the top 25 ranked players?
There's been a lot of talk about that. I don't play as much as I want to. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I am doing. Not that this means anything to anyone, but when I'm working on Pox, it's a 16-hour a day, 6-day a week gig. I tend to take Sunday off so my girlfriend won't leave me. But that's basically it. I do play as much as I can, but again, there is a very big difference between making something and playing it. There are lots of BGs that are running around in the game that can be in the meta that people are not playing right now because they haven't seen. I know them. I don't play them. I wait until people play them, but they're there. So not only do I have a handle on that, there's other stuff. I guess what I'm saying is, you don't have to be, top 10 to play. That being said, I'll do a nostalgia thing first. I think I said this on one of the previous feeds. One of the happiest days of my life is when I made the first time a player kicked my butt in PoxNora. I was like, cool. All right. Well, I made a game where the rules are king and not me, or the skill with it is king and not me. It's one of the things I was telling to Moles. Knowing the right thing to do and doing it is usually two different things. Everyone makes mistakes in games. Everybody. It's compensating for them, and it's executing them or lessening your mistakes as much as possible that makes someone win or lose. So
it's human error, isn't it? Unfortunately, we're all humans. On that topic, though, when Corpse ran the game, he was a meta player. He'd play in the top 100 kind of thing, and that's when the game kind of became, massively imbalanced. And it's a god complex kind of thing. I think it's better if we have someone that isn't a master at the game, making the game, and then we can just figure it out for ourselves,
Yeah, I think a lot of that was, the forest for the trees, right? There was a lot of, make this guy good, yeah! If you ever actually talk to Corpse, that's what he sounds like. He's like, oh!
We need to get Corpse on the stream sometime.
Right on. So there was a lot of focus on that, but that's not what it takes to make a more balanced experience. So that being said, I'm starting to get my feelings hurt about people yelling at me for not being high enough. As a note, I've been a top 10 player in Pox twice, and I won first place in every Octopi tournament and every internal tournament we've ever had at Octopi. So, sweet. I know how to play the damn game. Off my back. So it's making me want to actually start playing to get ranked.
Hell yeah, man! You can challenge me for rank 1.
Well, see,
Tiny can't do it.
see the other problem is the best way to get really good at Pox or get really high ranked is to pick a specific group, and you basically just go with it, go with it, go with it. Go.
Hell yeah, that's what you need to do.
Because you wind up mitigating the human error, and you can refine the deck.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another great way to say it is, I'm sure people who make guns are not necessarily the best marksmen, but they're really great at making guns.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
That's kind of what it is with Pox. If I wanted to focus on one, I'm sure maybe not top 100, maybe not top 10, excuse me, definitely top 100. I could get there again, but I'm pretty sure.
Do it, man. Do it.
It will require a lot of time commitment on one group, and then I'd have to do it as a white account, so people won't start being like, "Why does Gedden love ST so much?"
Yeah.
That's so. Which, by the way, we used to log in as white accounts when we played.
You buffed this so you could get to a high rank. It doesn't count.
Exactly. That's what they say. So.
A couple more comments from Nebron. Surprise, surprise. He said when you referred to decks being out there that no one's found yet, his answer was no. There are decks you think are good. And rank resets don't count, and the game.
Let me pull a matrix. Let me pull a matrix on you, Nebron. Hey, you know the deck you're playing? Guess who thought of it? Oh, there is no spoon, son.
Nebron's like, oh, the game isn't the same as 6 years ago, so that means nothing. The fact you were top 10.
No, you can't. I think top 5 is probably difficult to sustain. Although when you're there with the current rank system, it's, to be fair, not that difficult to sustain. We definitely need an instant ranking system whereby you win and it updates straight away. And
that's one of my top priorities anyway.
Another thing as well, I mean, it's all good and well saying get top 10, sort the game out and then get top 10,
Well, right. So, notice, in this conversation, I said the reason I won't is I'll get flack for it. During the conversation, I got flack for it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got another good question here from Exile Tyrant. He wants to know which faction is going to be claiming the mutant theme. Seems like it's between SL and FW, but maybe a proper split synergy could be made instead.
I'm actually thinking... okay, I'm going to get yelled at later for this by players, I'm sure. So I like how you smile, like, oh, good, juicy. I'm definitely thinking right now SL would get it. It works with their lore a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just kind of a fun execution thing. That said, I have no idea what I want to do with creeps. I thought their previous theme was it just bored the shit out of me.
Yeah, dude, I'm not a fan of creeps.
I think it was a pretty unhealthy interaction as well, to be honest.
It didn't. It's like it was so anticlimactic, and when it would work, you'd just be like, well, I was gonna lose anyway. I don't know what's going on. I want to see more juice with that. So mutants is not a terrible way to go, but I also don't like things in FW, with the exception of humans, which are corrupted, not being dead. It feels weird.
Yeah.
Hey, Gedden, Ficule, who I believe asked a lot of questions about creeps in the last Q&A, He said, "Can you read the FW forums as there is a big discussion going on right now on creeps, and they want some feedback."
All right, yeah, I will. Thanks. Let me disconnect and reconnect.
Nebron wants to say, literally, the only reason I give him shit is because he ignores balance suggestion and runs off with the most random shit, i.e. swarm changes not touching the global rock eater.
Alright, let me pop out and pop back in.
Yeah, I think Gedden's just going to fix his webcam or something there.
I wasn't 100% convinced by the swarm changes.
Let's see if my camera works again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was doing well up until that point, and then just froze up.
I don't understand. It like works for exactly 20 minutes. All right. Whatever. I'm sure just me with my top hat. All right. We can move on.
How long ago was that picture taken?
It was taken at the genesis of my beard. I don't know, 6 months ago.
All right, cool. You only started growing it 6 months ago.
Well, I guess.
Pretty long.
Rockashan wants to know how far off is a larger scale sweep patch? Just fixing up some of the sillier upgrades and champions that are no longer thematic. See Hydraxor.
Yeah, so a couple things. So, again, one of these questions has actually a couple different questions. So, we're upgrading things incrementally now. That's how we're addressing things. Outside of big balance patches, or excuse me, outside of big releases like Steam or expansions, it's going to be smaller balance patches. They might tackle an entire all the units in a theme, or it might be just parts of that theme. Might be individual units. That's one part. The second thing is Hydraxor, which is a dude on his own. He's got I've heard a lot of stuff about Hydraxor. I want Hydraxor to be cool. I sure as hell want to be cooler than he is now. He will be getting some attention.
Yeah, I'm just looking at him now. He's got dive, regen or quest, and tail sweep pretty much, yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, there's so many champs that people are attached to. Not all of them can be...
Right, but Hydraxor is cool enough to where he could be one of these dudes. I think the main issue is he's rolling with dive, and he's always rolled with dive, but he's a large unit, and it makes it kind of funny.
There just isn't... Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do something neat.
I think the water theme could probably get some love because there's just not enough water to justify using dive ever.
That's it. I think a couple of people did actually ask the question about why so many champs have dive as one of their upgrade paths. And I think one of the things, I think you want it to kind of be one of those themes, but I don't think there's enough water to support that.
No.
You know what? That could be it. So, going back to one of the original questions that we were asked today, which was, what are the themes of the theme? Themes of factions, which is a loaded term, or what's the general gist of a faction?
Yeah.
One of the things that FS is supposed to be really good at is mobility, which is why they have all the dive running over and leap and pounce and leap a tap and massive leap and what is it? Majestic leap. I forget what it was called.
Glorious leap,
glorious leap, right? Majestic leap. So that's one of the. I think that might be part of it, where that might be it when it comes to dive units. You need water rolling everywhere for dive to be viable. That being said, even on Hydraxor, who I want to be a cool unit, dive isn't the answer for him because he's a big dude.
Yeah.
I tried some stuff here recently with Voldak that I kind of like, and I introduced a few new abilities. For the Skizik. If I had to make a new ability to make Hydraxor kind of fit inside one of the themes it might be neat. I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure dive as an ability costs the same Nora as Tunnel Earth, and every map I think has Earth on it.
Right.
Whereas only 2 maps have water on them, and water gen in general isn't easy to come by. So that's just another consistency thing, really. I mean,
Yeah, I think perhaps slightly more of water availability in FS might help promote some of those other themes in there as well.
Right. I want to think more on him. Like, I like Valdok's got this really great double-ended battle group. He's actually viable in 3 or 4 really radically different groups now because of his abilities. One of them could use a buff, but no one's playing it anyway. So, Hydraxor, it seems like he might be neat in like a kind of bog hopper support badassness, but I don't want to use the exact same concepts that were used in a different faction for him. So I don't know. I'm definitely chewing on Hydraxor. And what's the other dude? The 3-headed Hydra. What's his name?
the Tundra Hydra?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the Elder Merkworm, is that what you're on about? The other one in FS? Or...
Well,
No,
the
Frostfall
three-headed.
Hydra.
Oh, the Hydra,
Same,
okay, yeah.
same thing. So the Hydra got a lot of updates, but I don't think it's quite there yet. I want the Frostfall Hydra to be cool for the same reason I want Hydraxor to be cool.
Mm.
Cool.
They just seem like so much fun.
FS are probably, say, the weakest faction currently, I think. Of all the factions, you could probably build stronger decks. I mean, FS, don't get me wrong, I don't know. Just thinking about it though, FS have always probably been the least played. So maybe that's why.
Actually, FS UD is almost always the most played.
Yeah.
FS traditionally was in the top 3.
Really?
Well, they appeal to young people a lot. And back in the day, we had a lot more young people.
That's why Taylor plays them then.
Right. Because of the mobility and because of the jack of all trades stuff, you could build a beater deck, you could build a defensive deck, you could build a range deck, and still stay within the same faction. So they were a favorite actually for a long time, but I don't think they're there now. That being said, I think we just got a new FS council. I think I don't remember. Anyway.
I haven't seen Taylor in a while. He was the council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. What else we got?
Okay, Tang MC Game wants to know if the Nora algorithm is locked in or are you still tweaking it? And why did you choose to make swarmed champions summons?
Two questions. I just wrote summons on paper so I won't forget. The first one was about... What was the first question?
The algorithm.
Sorry.
Is the algorithm locked in place or are you still tweaking it?
No, nothing in all of PoxNora is locked in place. The costing algorithm included. I like where it is. One of the pieces that I'm reassessing right now is having to do with large champions. Basically, there was a Nora cost bonus, so they were cheaper for large champions across the board. I think the algorithm gave it like 5 Nora.
Yeah.
Cheaper. In some cases it worked and made sense. In some cases it didn't.
Yeah.
So I want to figure out why that is.
Yeah, I think I've... Sorry.
DRM had some really great ideas, and he posted some stuff from the forums as well. I'm playing with a few little curves, but basically the gist of what's going on right now is based on the unit's stats, not their abilities, like how beefy they are. The cost for the benefit for being large will be more or less between 1 and 6 Nora. So I'm still playing with it. That's one, and that's actually why SP didn't get an update this time around.
Right.
Because SP is affected by size more than the other factions are. So
In relation to that, I actually sent a thread to Senshu. It was made by Lepaco. He made a really good point in regards to the algorithm that Life Siphon, for example, costs 5 Nora for all champions, no matter what. But champions that have high range, high damage benefit more from Life Siphon.
Yeah.
You know, because they can shoot away, high damage, heal more, whereas a melee beater with low damage benefits less because he heals less.
Not every ability can be compensated for quite that way. I don't want to go into it too much because I could talk about the algorithm straight up for 3 hours, and we'd have 2 people listening. I'm yes, and then we do this when this happened. No one care. But I'm happy with where it's at right now. Nothing is set in stone. We're definitely playing with the algorithm for large units for much the reason of what Devil just said. So.
Yeah.
Yep, that's cool. That's good to hear. I do think one thing is though, if you do change the algorithm, which then changes, 1,000 different champions, it can be pretty confusing to players.
Right. Which is why I don't want to do it that often.
Yeah, you don't want to tweak too often, I guess. The second part of his questions was why did you choose to make Swarm Champions summons?
Because in the beginning, there was this concept of champions that were brought into play by being deployed, champions that were brought into play by not being deployed. That got refined a little more into champions that have a Nora cost associated with their deployment and champions that don't. Champions that don't have a Nora cost associated with their deployment are summons. Dark Rising champions are summon.
They cost Nora though, don't they?
It's a bit of a gray. They don't come from the dock. The spell is where the Nora goes. So a summon tree spirit doesn't have a Nora cost associated with it. Therefore, the unit should be summoned. What's the name of that KF relic that summons the greenhouse?
Greenhouse, yeah.
It does summon a unit, but the unit it creates has a Nora cost associated with it.
I think there's a couple of inconsistencies with that, like Skizik Revolt.
No,
Skizik Revolt. Are they summons
Skizik
now?
Revolt creates. So there are the previous balance with the idea of Skizik Revolt was it would create units, but it would create a Nemesis unit, so it didn't do them summoned. Is what I'm guessing the thought process was.
Right.
For the Skizik, the new Skizik Alliance update I just put in, I made them summons. So they still have Skizik Alliance, but they're actually summon units on their own, which means the Raven Speaker and other things can do things about them. There's definitely gray area when you start using Nora to do something that makes a guy spawn. There's definitely gray areas. It's not 1,000%. But things that spawn from a dude for AP should generally be summons. Things that have a Nora, like the Moga Den, I believe brings them into play. It doesn't summon them.
It costs Nora though. It costs 10 Nora every time, I think.
Right, because you're paying for it.
And there's stuff like Timmy Swarms, which I believe are still real champs, but I think they need to just be reported as bugs.
Yeah, I like... See, Swarms are so friggin' powerful. I like the fact that they've been tampered down a little bit. Because it's so as cool as it is to get a Swarm off, it's 10 times more demoralizing to be swarmed. So I like mitigating it a little bit. And those champions are not brought into play via a Nora cost. Hell, you actually get Nora for swarming, right? So I actually still might do more to swarms, to be perfectly honest. But that's the general idea is the swarms aren't there. If Timmy's not doing it, then Timmy's got a problem. Timmy's about to get nerfed. So cool.
What was I about to say? Someone just mentioned in the chat, who was it? Oh, Damon Boyer. Wanted to say, by the way, now there are so many summons. Sever summons needs to be available for every faction. Do you agree with that, or do you think that you'd prefer to go down the route of, like the Draven Speaker, different abilities with a different sort of way of...
I really disliked Sever summons. It's just like one of those instant counters that requires no skill, no thought.
Yeah, so do you think
press Sever summons.
You should just dish out Sever summons, or are you looking to go down the route you did with the Raven Speaker?
I love Draven Speaker as a name, right? It's like a guy that rides a motorcycle. His name's Draven. Get on. So there's a reason I pop Sever summons off of the dudes I did. I thought it was a little bit lazy. And I actually view such things not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. The Raven Speaker, I think, being a neat example, right? In the game I was playing against you yesterday, Moles, right?
Yep.
I had my Valdak down there. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to summon you to Oblivion. And you dropped the Raven Speaker, and I'm like, well, you just kind of countered one of my little sub moves. I can't bring more guys out because you're gonna pop them.
Yeah.
I think there's opportunities there for creating summon counters. Like we were talking about, a beater that does something with summons in some way. I don't know what it is. Maybe if someone starts to hate that soul siphon again, you could like consume summons and physically grow or replicate or something of that nature, right? You have a lot of capabilities. There's a lot of opportunity to do things with that. I think Sever summons is a little too across the board.
So in that respect, do you think that Sever summons could potentially be removed from the game and see like a few different abilities, as counters to summons over different factions?
Yeah,
In the future,
I'm not so against it that I'd remove it from the game. I think right now it's on 2 champs. If I'm not mistaken.
It's
everyone
on
always calls it server summons, and then I
the Freeze Bookkeeper and the
right.
I don't know. I mean,
it was on a lot more before.
Yeah, it was on the Slag, the Oculi Slag.
Right. Yeah. It was on a few more things. What I'd rather do is give those units something more
creative,
special way to do it. I won't pop it off of anybody else until those mechanics exist. So if right now it's on the Grief Bearer, I won't pop it off the Grief Bearer unless I give the Grief Bearer a different way to fill that role.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's really used for a hell of much else,
No, he's not. I ran him in my Treachery deck for a little bit, but summons just weren't a problem, so I removed it.
Right. So, now roll with him and fight some trees and see how you do.
I don't need him, honestly. The Ember Wasp probably still works. I haven't played it since the nerf. But...
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
A couple of questions about CPing and stuff like that. Again, I think a lot of people are still feeling the pain of the 200 CP, even with the default abilities. The lack of tokens, the cost of token packs is still hurting a lot of people.
I don't think so.
Really?
No, I don't think so. I mean, leveling up a deck doesn't take that long.
I think.
With default abilities, you can still.
Dark Lord 48 says, "Would you consider making runes purchased with AL credits fully leveled as an additional incentive?"
That's wanting 2 things. That would be purchasing individual runes. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not I haven't really heard a whole lot of concern with leveling runes. Again, a big part of that actually is with the default values that exist now. That being said, it's not out of the question. I could see us lowering the cost of the token packs. And again, like I said, I'm having a larger conversation right now with Cortices and Sokolov about some of the rune accessibility stuff.
Yeah.
And being able to get individual runes or
Dude,
however we want to do it. So
I think
we're
a reasonably priced single rune store is just what Pox needs.
I totally agree. Yeah.
I think it's a missed opportunity, to be honest. So many times I go to make a deck as a player, I haven't got a certain rune. You know, if it was up in a single rune store for a couple of dollars, I wouldn't think twice about buying it. You know.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I would do the same thing. I mean, I think the old single room store was, I think, perhaps very expensive. Like, I think it used to be like for like a Lich King back in the day would be like $40 or something. You know, it would be really highly priced. I think it was based on demand. The old rune store, wasn't it?
right. That's exactly what it was. So if people would buy more of it, it would go up. I don't know. We're still in discussion about what that would be. I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't want to get people excited. I don't know what it's going to be yet, much less have it scheduled.
Yeah.
But it's definitely very, very much high on our radar internally. So,
Devin says bringing back the single room store would be the comeback. Sepulka says, "Oh my god, single room store, get 'em Devils." And Hannah Baffy said it would boost how much income they get. But yeah, it's good to hear that you are thinking or discussing possibilities. Because I think a lot of people would look at, say, Poxbox and say, wow, those prices are incredibly high.
I'll tell you what,
they'd look at, say, Pox Brothers and they'd say, oh, great pricing, but no stock, you know?
Yeah,
and,
in fact, Moles linked me the Pox Brothers website the other day because I didn't have a rune that I really wanted to use in one of my decks.
Yeah.
It wasn't on Poxbox for trade. So he linked me a single rune store. It was a reasonable price, but they had none in stock.
None in stock.
I would have paid for it and bought it there and then, you know.
Yeah, and I've actually used Pox Brothers when I wanted a rune to run in a deck, and I couldn't get it any other way. But obviously, if the single rune store was on Pox, I wouldn't have hesitated to have bought it in there, you know.
Yeah, as long as it was reasonably priced, you know.
Yeah, but anyway, that's good to hear that you're thinking about the possibilities. Anyway.
Right.
Conscious, we've had you on for 2 hours now, so let me know if you're running out of time because we still got a few questions left.
Yeah, we'll do what, 3 more, and then we'll call it. That way we'll have a stop.
Yeah, cool. Ficule wants to know: do you have any plans to add sound effects to newer maps? Apparently, the new UD map is crying out for bubbling lava noises, rising steam vents, and echoing screams.
That's kind of a badass idea. I hadn't thought about it, to be honest.
As a sub-note, he wants to know if there's going to be any graphical fixes in the lower right corner for the terrain and lava.
Yeah. So basically, we were experimenting with what's called a flow map, which I don't know if you'd care for me to link it, but
yeah, man,
basically where it's darker, it would flow slower, and where it's lighter, it would flow faster. So that way, it make it look like the lava was flowing kind of across. And we tried a few different things, and it hasn't really came off. So what we decided to do is make the lava look more like the pooled, flowy lava that's in the middle on the bottom right. But we came to that conclusion like half an hour before the push today. So it'll probably be in the next one.
Cool.
So, or whatever.
Is it going to be released into the ranked? Ranked maps
circulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Totally. I don't see why not. It's a badass looking map.
There's a few other maps that need to be in the map circulation just for a bit of variety.
Yeah, I think the the little algorithm which decides which map you're on could potentially be bugged, because a lot of the maps seem to be a lot more common than others. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but potentially that formula can be looked at, you know.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. I haven't played it at all.
I seem to be on the Cathur Hill map more often than not.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, every game.
Which, oddly enough, that map I created for a campaign.
Didn't with the Cathur Hill map? Didn't that used to be the original Capture the Flag map?
Yeah.
No. Lava Plains and Cathur Hill. They're the same map. Lava Plains and Cathur Hill. If you play the final encounter against in the campaign against Grimlick, when he turns into Grimlick of Cathir into Grimlick, and he changes everyone into demons, it changes from Cathir Hill to Lava Plains. It was created for that campaign. People started playing it, and they liked it, and we went on going into ranked. So, yeah, that's what it's for.
Yeah, I definitely remember the Capture the Flag map, which was like a blank grassy map with a little patch in the middle.
That was probably Cathir Hill as well.
I think that was the original incarnation of it, and then it got adapted later on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so Queen 5 Me says, can you make pay safe cards method of payment available? These cards can be bought from almost every gas station.
Well, if those guys who put it in those gas stations would answer their emails, we would already be there. It's something that we are spending a whole lot of time pushing on. I think even Senshi will back me up. Cordyceps is on them constantly, and those guys move at the speed of business. So we really want to get integrated with them, but they seem to be pretty understaffed internally. So as soon as we get all the pieces we need, we'll do it. Did we wind up releasing the Amazon payments yesterday, James? I don't remember.
No, we pulled them because Cordyceps wanted to do some more testing on it to make sure everything worked.
Cool. Well, that should be coming up here actually pretty soon too. So I don't know how prevalent it's going to be, but I know they do allow a lot of other payment types. So you could buy things however you normally top up on Amazon, and then buy things through Pox that way.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear it's top of your list, and we've got one thing around the corner. That's great. So we'll finish off selfishly with a question from me. Because I think it's a good question.
All right.
Do you bias. Yeah, completely unbiased. Do you think we will try and cover these other questions in a future Q&A or something?
Cool.
Do you think the community will notice a big difference once you hire the extra programmers? And also, do you plan to review map layouts and the ranking system before the expansion? Or Steam?
Okay. So that's three questions. First one was the person. Do I think they'll see a difference?
Do you think the community will see a difference in the short or long term when you've got these?
Maybe. What I'm planning on doing is kind of throwing a smoke bomb on the ground and becoming less visible as me, and kind of propping that guy up.
That's
so
cool. Yeah.
they'll see him a lot more, and you guys will see me a lot less. Basically, at Octopi, I propped up a whole bunch of dudes, and I was very rarely at the front lines.
I don't remember
camera shy. Yeah. Right, not that I'm camera shy, but I like to do a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of heavy lifting in the background, guys, that needs to get done. And a lot of it just isn't getting done. I don't have time to do a lot of the back-end stuff to keep things rolling, and the design work, and the implementation, and the patches, and the expansion. So, in my mind, it's going to be a lot closer to what it should be, where there's going to be a lot more happening. But when this last patch, when we went down, when we show up in patch notes are things that are visible to players. We don't say, hey, we've increased our database capacity because we were starting to get full, you know, and we had to basically resize, you know, we're trying to think of an easy way to say it, which is we were basically trying to increase disk space that we have for our database on the cloud, and it took about an hour to do that, and we have some more things that we want to do. We don't put that in the patch notes because, you know, you have to be like, whatever, nerds. Like, it's not really sexy thing to talk about. A lot more of that stuff is going to get done. And how that gets seen as is the game's lagging or the game's not lagging. Do you remember when we first got the game back? It was like, why is it lagging? Why is it sucking? Why whatever?
It still does lag every now and then, but not as
every
bad.
now and then.
Memory leak is still a problem.
Because I can't get to those things because they're not high enough priority because they're not cutting people. So, you know, when things work the way you expect, if you're a programmer and you do your job right, no one will ever know you were there at all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's going to be happening, I think, more with me. There's going to be some things that the game's going to start running smoother.
Will the call or players, you know?
It depends. It depends on who we get. Usually, when we look for artists, when we put out an artist, we might get 200 applicants. If we look for a programmer, we might get 3 or 4.
Wow.
And we've gotten 3 or 4 already, and
Right.
it's all over the map. So we'll see because it's someone who works on Pox. That's a big deal. That's you have to understand that there's a lot of people involved, and Pox is also way harder to maintain than a lot of people realize. Like think of a game that's as big as Pox. They are out there. Now think of running that with 1 or 2 people. It's really tough. There aren't a lot of games that are this big. There aren't a lot of games that are this big that are online. So anyway, I think I over-answered that question. What was the next one?
It was a triple barrel question, to be fair.
The other one was, do you plan to review map playouts and the ranking system before the expansion or Steam relaunch?
As much as I want to do maps, I don't see myself getting time before the relaunch. Before the Steam update. I really, really want to, and we will be doing some actual map stuff, but the thing is, it takes... I know while it seems like, just move that font node over there, it takes a little bit more effort and discretion to do that. And it sucks because I know it's almost low-hanging fruit because people will really like it. Same thing with the ranking system. That's another thing that it's really high on our radar, but do we do ranking first or Steam first? Well, we kind of flipped a coin and said Steam because we want to get more players in. So that's not to say it won't happen, but that's definitely what our priority list is.
Of course.
It's cool. It's fair enough. Yeah.
Actually, speaking again to the priority list, here's one thing. We have an amazing amount of tools to handle POX, to handle pushing builds, to handle building the client and doing things. The client build process is very, very sophisticated. The languages that we have for POX look neat, and they're pretty sophisticated. One thing we don't have a sophisticated tool for, our sprite building is actually very sophisticated. All the effects for POX are done by hand. All of them. They're coded by hand, which is effing crazy. And it's really difficult. It's been very difficult to not do that. So one of the things that we're going to be doing internally is creating a tool to make them. If you noticed, everything that we had under SOE, everything that we had a tool for, they would update.
Yeah,
right? It's why you got new abilities, you got new guys, you got schedules, you got tournaments, all that stuff we had scripts and tools and facilities for. Most of the effects in the game in the last 2 years haven't had visuals because there's no tool for it.
Yeah.
The last expansion, every ability in the expansion just went to a generic thing. Half the spells just linked to other spells. They didn't even change the colors, right?
Yeah, cool.
So that's not a big, sexy front end thing, but if we have that, it adds another year to the life of PoxNora. Adds another 3 years to PoxNora because it becomes easier to maintain. So there's some, just like there's long-term health stuff that you see from the design side, there's long-term health stuff under the hood too. So there's a lot of things in play.
That's cool.
I'm sure that's the most boring part of this whole interview.
Actually, I found that one of the most interesting parts.
Yeah, that was good. It's good to hear that processors are coming to Pox,
Cool. Maybe one time when we do these, I can show you guys what the Pox language looks like.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
So
we're all nerds at the end of the day, right?
Woo! Yeah. Look at the language we created. It's the greatest. And what was the last part? There was one more thing.
No, that was it. Although
it?
Bad Grey just said, "Have you ever considered making Pox open source?"
There's a guy when we were first releasing PoxNora, and he was just some dickhead. I don't remember. It's late enough in the thing that I can curse a little bit, and no one's gonna get mad. I don't think. Right?
Yeah.
I was working at a convention. It was Gen Con Indie, and there was some guy came up, and I could tell when he walked up, all he wanted to do was tell me how stupid I was and how stupid the game was, and he did. And he's like, "You're not gonna last 3 weeks. Your gameplay is boring. Your graphics suck. Your art is bad." I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way." And one of the things he said was, "And when you get shut down, all the money I spent is going to go away." And it's always bothered me. The response I gave to this guy is what I'd give to you. I will do everything in my power for all time to keep Pox up. I think I've kind of shown that we're willing and able to do it. We're at our 8 years now. I don't see any problem going to 10 or 12 or 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
20 years down the road or whatever the hell it is. I'm always going to run a PoX server. It's too light not to. There's always going to be a PoX server. If we ever get to that point where it's out there and, the year is 2035 and PoxNora 3 is out there and we're all playing it, I'm not going to hold on to the source like a miser. There's no reason to do it. There's too much cool shit in there. So I'm not against it, but I also don't want to put it up and out there because when someone makes a Pox game, I want them to talk to us as Desert Owl.
I agree, yeah.
Holding on to a little bit of the trade secrets, I guess.
Think especially before the Steam launch and potential takeoff, etc. Wouldn't potentially be the best idea. Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, one of the things about Pox is it's a very difficult game to make, and we've actually done a lot of stuff internally under the hood that's really kind of sexy to do this kind of game. So it's why SOE was attracted to Octopi. They didn't use any of it, but it's what attracted them in the first place. So,
Pox is a sexy game, so yeah.
Right. Someone asked in the Twitch, "What about Conquest?" Conquest is actually a totally different game. It's way
different.
casual.
It's so much more simple, like the way it's made. Yeah.
And to be clear, Justin Cordes basically wrote their back end, and I basically did a bunch of the basically put together the scene graph and the graphics. So they're friends of ours. Dagon's there, Slugbait's there. We're not enemies in any way.
Yeah.
We do make the same kind of game, but I think they fill very different needs. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool to hear as well.
Oh, do I think it'll last as long as Pox? I hope so. Good luck, guys. Again, we're friends. That'd be cool.
played
We get
Conquest.
to our
It was,
10-year and they get to their 5-year or 2-year, whatever. That's cool.
I haven't played the beta. I haven't played Conquest since the beta, but Jesus, I played one game and I was bored. So.
It's not my thing, but it might be it might be someone else's. It's certainly more casual. You know what I mean? Which is more mass market. So
Yeah.
oh, no,
Yeah.
that
How are
wasn't a
they doing?
shot. I'm not yelling at them. That it could be
I
could be a deal.
think, yeah, perhaps that's what they've gone for, more of a casual thing. I could imagine seeing it say on Facebook and people
Ooh,
casually playing
is
on there,
Ficule
maybe.
a tech guy? Ask him if the effect system will use shaders for the new effects. Ooh, look at you speaking my
I think he
language.
said he's a fruit machine coder or something.
A fruit machine coder? I don't know what that
Something along
means.
the lines of that. Yeah, that's what he
Like
said
fake
earlier.
fruit?
He did also say he's looking for a new job, so he should go.
Visit desertowlgames.com. There's a hiring up top. No. Basically, the first step is I want to get some of the effect systems that we have hooked up so they can be more dynamic, so the artists can work with them. And the second is I have a material system that I just wrote in, so shaders will be allowed. I just realized I got really nerdy on everybody, so I'll stop. Cool.
No,
Sweet.
we've covered a lot of good things there, man. It's again been quite a long one. You've been great to stick around for so long again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, maybe if there are still questions left, maybe we do another one next week or whatever. Give you a chance to pull.
Sure.
I don't want to
good,
do
man.
too many, so I don't want people to get bored. But I'll do these whenever there's demand for it, anytime.
Yeah.
So, and again, thank you for doing it because that it's a big help. And it makes it, the fact that it's a player-driven thing and a community thing it's not only is it cool to do it, it kind of means a lot that it's happening. And
Yeah.
that I don't feel douchey like interviewing myself online. So, so what do I think of this? Oh, good question, me. So. Cool.
Yeah, man, it's been good to speak. Hopefully, see you next week then.
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah,
I'll,
right on.
I'll hit send you up later in the week and sort something out,
Cool.
and we'll take some more questions and cover the ones we've not caught today. And
Cool.
yeah, have a good
All right.
evening, man.
All right, you too. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah.
See you later, man.
You get no stitched answers, jeepers.
Yeah. So there we have it.
Yes,
Another
you do.
Successful Q&A. Lots of good
Yeah.
answers, and since you got to put his point across.
Yeah, so what we're doing now then, are we streaming for a bit longer, or are we going to...
Yeah, if you want to play a few games, stream a few games. You fancy it, Senshu, or you got other things still getting on with?
Yeah, I had to be moving on, but yeah, thanks for the stream, Moles, and yeah, hopefully
Yeah,
we
man.
can set up something again soon.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Like I say, I'll hit you up later in the week and sort out the next one for next week or whatever.
No problem.
Okay.
Well, have a good evening.
You too, man.
You too,
Cheers.
man. Cool.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer onto the Pox client and we're going to stream some Pox games.
Sounds good, yeah. I was going to say, hopefully we can get some streams of the
Yeah.
tournament. Because I don't think you haven't done much of the tournament so far, have you?
Not many, no. I've only caught a couple of the games